Go.
Welcome everybody to our doctor's call. We have two amazing healers with us today. Before we get started, I just wanted to do something in honor of our fallen wellness warrior, Kathy Rodriguez. I just want everybody to say with me, we love you, Kathy, and we'll see you again soon. Okay? Now, can we just give a round of applause up front for these two amazing healers that we have here today, taking time out of their life to do this with us?
Yay!
We have Dr. Harmon, who we all know, and we have Dr. Rostenberg. We all know him from that epic video that he put out. I think if anybody has not seen that video, that is a must see, right? That was the only word I can give you is epic about that. All right, so before we get started, like we always have to do, I have to do the medical disclaimer, okay? So this information and the products discussed here today are not meant to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease, right? We have to say that. Now, that said, I want to quickly give you a little bio on Dr. Harmon. If there's anybody here that doesn't know Dr. Harmon, I want to give you a little bio on him, all right? Dr. Harmon has a bachelor's of science degree in human biology. He has been a chiropractor for 30 years. Let me say that again, 30 years, okay? Certified chiropractic extremity practitioner. That's kind of a specialized thing that he has there. I know because he's cracked every bone in my body before. Fingers, wrist, elbows, everything. If there's a joint, he can crack it. Board certified in oxidative
Our internet.
That's actually a big deal. There's somebody not muted. Let me say it again. Board certified in oxidative medicine is a big deal. Board certified in QEEG and neurofeedback. That is a big deal. Founder and owner of Clearmind Center of Idaho. So he works with brain mapping, frequency medicine, and lasers. Father of 8 children. Wow. Okay. Grandfather of 22 children. Are you kidding me? I only have 1.
He's been busy.
2? It's ridiculous. He is he's passionate about continually learning about the brain and the body and how we can better take care of ourselves. Now, something you might not know is Dr. Harmon writes songs and poetry. So that too, that artistic side shows you that that is also kind of in the healing arts too, right? Because who doesn't love music and poetry? But aside from that, I want to tell you some history of Dr. Harmon with myself. I want you to know exactly who Dr. Harmon is from my perspective. So I've known him for a long time, and I always went to him myself as my chiropractor. And when I was training, when I was a trainer, I would send all my clients and my family to Dr. Harmon. So he was a lot more than a chiropractor. He was really more of a naturopath because he had a lot of cutting edge technologies in there. And back before they outlawed it, people would come to see him from a very far distance to get treatment, even for things like the C word, cancer. He was the first guy in the valley to have a Hocket machine, which is an amazing piece of technology. First guy to have that. But Dr. Harmon, his heart is such that he would give things away for free all the time, to the point that his staff would say, hey man, you got to stop knocking off all the discounts and everything. We're going to go broke over here, right? And even myself, he would give me things for free or for half off or whatever. And, you know, I'm the kind of a person that I have a hard time taking all this stuff for free. You know, I'd rather give, but that's the way he is. And so he said something to me one day that I've never forgot when I was like, Dr. Harmon, let me pay for this, please. And he said, hey, let the giver give. That's who Dr. Harmon is. He's a giver. And I would venture to say that everybody here, this is the type of people that we attract. We're givers, right? And we're healers. The same thing I can say for Dr. Rostenberg. When you watch that video presentation that he did, you can tell just from that video that this man would do this healing work for free. You can just tell he would do it for free. It just comes across the screen that he is a healer. And when I talked to him this morning prior to this call, it came out again. So I'm an energy person and I feed off of energy. And I can tell you right now, both these guys are from the heart. Their mission is to heal people. So let me give you a bio. I would say short, but it's not. A bio on Dr. Rostenberg. I'm gonna have to take a deep breath. This goes on and on, okay? I'll try to paraphrase. Okay, so let me go. All right, so a chiropractor, DIBAK. Not sure about that acronym, Dr. Rostenberg. Kinesiologist, functional medicine expert, methylation researcher, author, and director of Red Mountain Natural Medicine in Boise. Founder of Beyond MTHFR, a leading voice in the emerging field of functional medicine and genetics, raising awareness of how genetic variation impacts our health. In addition to running a busy practice, Dr. Rostenberg has developed cutting-edge protocols using methylation pathways designed to optimize biochemistry, detoxification, digestion, brain function, and more. Due to the popularity of his Beyond MTHFR YouTube channel and website, he has attracted patients from all over the world who seek to optimize their genes and change their lives. He has clinical experience treating patients of all ages and walks of life, ranging from elite athletes and children to those suffering from complex digestive, autoimmune, and neurological diseases. He wrote and published the book, Your Genius Body. Maybe I can get a discounted copy of that, Dr. Rostenberg. To help patients better understand how to optimize their genes and change their lives. Dr. Rostenberg is a sought-after lecturer, so we have him today, and teacher, presenting seminars throughout the US and internationally. When he's not helping patients and living a better, rewarding life, he enjoys spending time with his family, rock climbing, skiing, hiking the mountains, and reading. And this morning when I talked to him, he was busy making breakfast for the kids, right? Right while he was talking to me. Now, is that a resume or what? All right, so that's that. Now, I want to get into asking Dr. Rostenberg, first of all, if I can, if you can unmute yourself. I want to ask you how you learned about X39.
Well, I'd like to say thanks for the nice introduction, Savvy, and it's just nice to connect with everybody today on this call because, as you pointed out, we are here to help make the world a better place, and it's not a ego-driven process necessarily. It's just, you know, good ideas. If we find good ideas, we want to tell other people about them, and that does move the world in the right direction. So I actually have to thank my friend, Dr. Harmon, he was the first chiropractor and really first chiropractor I met when I moved and started my practice in Boise. And we go way back, so we can joke about those early days, early stressful days when you start a business from scratch and everything. So he saw me as a little sprout, and then we've been friends since then, and seen both of our successes happen over the ensuing, about a decade of time. But basically the reason I found out about patches, I was completely and totally blissfully unaware of LifeWave. So I have to point that out. I don't have a multi-year background in patches. That's just not something that was on my radar screen for whatever reason. But a few months ago, my good friend, Dr. Harmon, stopped by, and I was busy with patients, and he dropped something off and talked to my staff. And at the end of the day, my staff was like, "Hey, Dr. Harmon dropped this off. You should check it out." And I'm like, "Huh, that was nice of him." And honest to God, I didn't break out my computer and start researching it and digging in right away. I think it sat on my top of my pile of to-dos for a couple weeks, but something, I would say, divine intervention just said, you need to check this out. And I also have to point out that when you're in practice and you're in business, as many of you know, you get phone calls all the time. People are always knocking on your door to try stuff, do this, the next best thing. We have the better service, blah, blah, blah. So you kind of have your defense mechanism up a little bit when people, drop stuff off and say, hey, try this. This is the best thing. Or, you got to check this out. So I had to maybe get over my own hesitation. But there was a voice in my head that said, you got to check it out. And I always save a little, even though I might be a little skeptical about new stuff, I always have to save a little bandwidth with the idea that something amazing might be sitting there right in front of me, and I would be just an absolute fool if I didn't check it out. So that's kind of how it started back in May. And I started to talk to John about how he was using it and how he was talking about it with his patients and what kind of results he was seeing. And his answers were quite impressive to me, and I trust him, and I took that as my invitation to continue to learn more. That's kind of how it showed up on my radar.
Dr. Rostenberg, did you try it personally yourself, or did you use it on a family member, or how'd that happen?
That's a good question. What I ended up doing after talking to John, I got on the phone with him one night, and he was like, hey, I'll walk you through how to sign up. And, I wasn't ready to commit to being a diamond, but I think I started gold. And Dr. Harmon does such a good job explaining everything. He really does have a gift, with business and just helping, it was just like a no-brainer. I was like, well, okay, I need some patches on hand to at least give to patients. How do I know if they're going to work or not unless I can, give some away? Kind of as you said before in your introduction, the giver mindset. So I was taking a page out of Dr. Harmon's book and just giving people 4 patches at a time in my practice. So I would say I probably gave it to maybe a dozen people before I started to get a sleeve myself and wear it every day. So I have definitely personally noticed changes in my wife, as many of us, know our partners. If you're into nutrition yourself as an individual, sometimes it's hard to get your family to, take 35 supplements a day and do detoxes and all that fun stuff. But putting a patch on is that's an easy sell. So she started to wear it, and then, she wore it for a day. The next day she's like, man, I noticed a difference. I can't really put my finger on it quite yet, but I had more energy. I slept better. And so that led us both to, using the patch now for the past, about 10 weeks.
So what was your thinking in your practice, right? I mean, like, give me a couple of examples of people that you were working on and you said, you know what, I think the patch can benefit these people. Was it literally chiropractic type things, or would it be more like something else, like soft tissue inflammation, or maybe something to do with depression? I mean, what were you thinking in terms of when you first started using it?
It's a great question, Savvy. Not to knock or to make my professors back at my chiropractic college squirm a little bit, but I would say I wasn't necessarily thinking of it just purely in the chiropractic sense, because moving bones and getting your body to stay in alignment has enormous benefits. I mean, miracles come from that. But as you work with patients in a practice like ours, we spend a little more time than normal than most chiropractors do with their patients. So I have insight into my patients' stresses, if they're getting divorced, if their family member's sick, what their history is. So there's just this like depth of the relationship. And so patients come into our practice and they're so committed. They're completely committed to doing whatever they need to do to move forward to be better. And so I'm looking at them doing good dietary choices. They're taking good nutritional supplements. They might be doing programs to help with irritable bowel, or, they got on antibiotics and they're having trouble with that. And so they're in the midst of all of that stuff that they're dealing with. They typically come to an office like mine as a last resort. I'm not exactly, the first place somebody goes calling when trouble strikes. So by the time they've maybe, been to 12 or 15 doctors, for example, and they're literally at this point praying to God, like, I'll do anything I need to do to get better. I see that as an open invitation to say, well, patient, we've got your structure, we got you adjusted, we figured out what foods you should avoid, we've got some nutritional updates, some nutritional protocol for you. But at the same time, there's this new technology that helps stimulate your stem cell productions. Would you be interested in hearing a little bit about that? So I kind of asked it as I offer it to them as a question. 98% of the time someone says, well, yeah, tell me more about that. So to answer your question, long answer to short question. I think there's a broad, really anybody can benefit. Obviously we're biased. Anybody can benefit from stem cell stimulation, but these patients who have Parkinson's, strange tremors, you know, chronic pain, chronic fatigue, thyroid issues, obesity. I mean, these are patients of mine who are begging me to do anything I can to help them. So first rule is do no harm, do no harm. So nobody was harmed making the patch. No babies were killed, you know, you didn't take it from another creature.
Yeah.
So it's a no brainer for me to say I can stand behind it 100%.
So it sounds like you're getting some of the, I don't want to say the worst of the worst, but you're getting some tough cases coming to you, and obviously you're up to the challenge, you know, and it did say in here that you're dealing with neurological problems, autoimmune and digestive. So, and then you're dealing with the MTHFR pathway. Can you just real short explain that pathway and the problems there?
Absolutely. So it sounds like you're abbreviating a very inappropriate thing to say around children, MTHFR. It's kind of the running joke, right?
My wife hit me with that last night. And
I don't know how the scientists, you know,
Yeah.
where they're, it's like a wink and a nudge there, but
yeah,
basically we know that genes are powerful. We know that. And, but they're not our destiny, right? Your genes are not your destiny. They're just your tendency, especially if you're under stress. So when bodies go through over-exercising, periods of overtraining, they're working too hard, working two jobs to try to keep a roof over your head. You have a job during the day that's tough, and then you have to take care of a sick family member at home and be the nurse. Heaven forbid somebody in your life is really sick and you can't afford in-home care, so you're kind of dual tasking. I mean, these are the things that my patients are telling me they're going through. So what that basically means is there's genes out there that we inherit. They're very common in certain populations. And it's called methylation is basically the big topic, and it's a biochemical pathway. And what makes it so important, it's kind of analogous to stem cells. Stem cells is not some process that only happens in your, you know, hair follicles or in your eye cells. It happens everywhere. It could go, any cell in your body could benefit from stem cells. And the same thing is true of this MTHFR gene mutation that's out there. It's in every cell, and it's so fundamental to how our body works that if you get it right and that system is supported, your body has resiliency when it's under stress. It's able to eliminate toxins very efficiently. It can recognize cancer cells when they're growing. It can turn those cells off. It can get the immune system to remove those cells. The flip side's also true. When people have this genetic tendency, as we say, to not have this pathway going as fast as other people, then issues like cancer, depression, and heart disease are actually more common in these family lines. But it's not that it's always going to be common. What it means is that if you don't know you have a genetic tendency for this problem and you eat a standard modern American diet, the genetics is loading the gun, and then with your choices, you keep pulling the trigger, and eventually something's going to happen.
So let me ask you this then. The fact that David Schmidt says that the X39 can regulate up or down over 4,100 genes, have you thought about that now when you're talking about autoimmune, neurological, gut issues? I mean, I'm sure you're like thinking in terms of how can I use this? How can I use this? And do you think in terms of patching in different locations?
I'll admit that I need to continue to experiment with different locations of patching. So I try to I give my patients so much homework. There's so many different moving parts when people come into natural medicine and they change their diet and they're taking supplements and they're doing protocols that if we can give them something simple and effective to do, that's easy to remember, they're more likely to be compliant. So that's maybe my excuse for working just with the triple warmer alarm point, which is really what that position below the navel is in acupuncture on the conception vessel and then back on the base of the neck. But you know, absolutely. I mean, if I'm going to make a video and put it on YouTube, I mean, yes, it's nice to be popular. We all get dopamine when people clap for you and give you a pat on the back and say, hey, you did a good job. But the really bigger idea is if there's something out there that could help people, that's affordable, that's safe, that does no harm, you know, when I looked into the research on GHK peptides based on, you know, what Dr. Harmon had mentioned to me, I was really blown away by the quality of the research. And that's, in a nutshell, that's why I'm behind this product. That's just the way my brain works. I want to know how things work. I was always growing up taking everything, all the toys my parents got me, I always took them apart and got in trouble.
So let me ask you this, because earlier this morning, I remember you mentioning a figure like 90%. So I'm assuming you're getting good feedback from your patients, and you mentioned that you like to cut the objections off early as regards placebo. Can you share that?
I think in general, when we communicate with people, the world is full of advertisements and movies and TV shows and billboards and stuff they send you in the mail that's trying to extract money from you. The world is literally full of people trying to extract money from you. And we build up a little bit of we have to armor ourselves and have a little defense against that. And that's just a natural, you know, side effect of being conscious and alive at this point in time. So I found it useful for me as I talk to people about patches to, you know, under promise and over deliver, right? So I'm not trying to promise people the moon. I think Dr. Harmon does a great job of that too. He's, you know, it's not like you're going to have in 4 nights of trying this, let's say you give them 4 patches as a test, just as an open invitation to try something, you know, it could revolutionize how they feel. And certainly we've had some feedback that way. But I think it's important just to point out that as you talk to people about these ideas that are foreign to them, I mean, most people that I speak to have heard, quote, heard of stem cells. They haven't spent 50 hours reading about GHK pathways, so they don't really know if there's anything to it. And MLM, in all honesty, guys, right? MLM has a reputation in the world that has rubbed people the wrong way. I would say the same thing for being a chiropractor. Honestly, we have a, you know, public relations issue in my profession. Some of it's warranted, but a lot of it isn't. And the same is true with MLM. So I try, in short, I try to just take the objections away from people. I say, hey, look, it is multi-level. That upsets some people, but you know, it kind of gets on my nerves sometimes too. I'm saying this to the patient just so they know that I'm not just a cheerleader who doesn't think. And I hope that doesn't offend anybody. That's the way in my clinical situation that I find the best way to communicate it. But I say, but you know, sometimes great things come and from areas you weren't aware of. And I would really encourage you to, you know, keep an open mind about this, because you know, I would put my whole reputation and everything I'm doing in practice on the line and say this thing helps people, right? So
yeah. So do you have any, like a couple of examples of benefit that folks have got?
Probably the strongest story I've seen so far. I have a patient of mine. I talked about this in the video. He's 72 and he's been diagnosed with some kind of brain atrophy. Basically, it's more like mad cow disease than it is like Alzheimer's, but they really quite don't know what it is. So he's worked with neurologists and they've been to specialists, and no one really has much of an answer aside from, well, you're just gonna slowly lose function of your body, and that's what your life is going to be like. And so he would normally wake up, he can barely, you know, get himself dressed. He doesn't help out around the house. He's got a wife who also takes care of 2 other, she's like the, you know, the caretaker for other people in the family who are also not healthy. So there's a lot of burden and stress in that family. And so he basically, he gets up in the morning, he may have a cup of coffee, nibble on some breakfast, he goes, sits in a chair and just sort of, you know, zones out on TV and passes out, and he sleeps sort of taking naps all day long, not really participating in the world around him. And so I give the wife some patches to try. And this was one of the, like maybe the first month we're using the patches. I mean, what, you know, first do no harm. It's not gonna, there's really no risk. There's no risk, not gonna hurt anybody. Worst thing is I wasted $12 giving somebody 4 patches, boo-hoo, you know?
Sure.
But the cool thing is what happens next. So on a Saturday morning, she puts one on, they're having company over. He gets up, has breakfast, has coffee, doesn't sit down, doesn't go back to sleep, gets up and walks around the house and talks to people for 5 or 6 hours straight. And she's just like, cannot believe what she's seeing. And is, you know, she basically tells me, quote, I couldn't get him to shut up. So to go from, you know, basically not participating in the world around you and being almost a vegetable to standing up, walking around and talking to people all day long, that was a big change for that family. And so she thought it was a fluke, you know, who knows, fluke, whatever. Maybe it could have been something in the air. The stars aligned a certain way. Who knows what it was. That wakes up the next day, day 2, puts a patch on him, doesn't sleep, doesn't pass out at all, doesn't sit in his chair all day long. He's up and around, starting to, you know, do some chores, starting to participate in the world around him. Same thing happens on the 3rd day. So there's 3 days in a row. And then on the 4th day, she's busy off doing, you know, something else earlier in the day, and she doesn't get the patch on him, and he kind of reverts back to his old self. So she comes in later that week, like the day after, just like out of breath, just exasperated. She's like, what is this stuff? How does it work? What, oh my gosh, I can't believe, you know. And then, you know, that was clearly the patch supporting that GHK pathway, helping this individual make stem cells, is helping his brain repair itself. We get sick. The body can heal from anything. There's literally no known disease known to man that nobody has that every disease we've ever talked about, there's a person out there who's spontaneously remissed from. That's a scientific fact.
Yeah.
And what's the difference between that person and everybody else? So the way my understanding is that the body's never makes a mistake. I don't care if you have cancer, if you have an autoimmune disease, you have chronic migraines, or, you know, peripheral neuropathy in your feet. I mean, even though it hurts and it's affecting your life, under the circumstances that the body's in every day, the intelligence that the body was built with is perfectly choosing the most efficient and effective way to navigate that problem and keep you alive one day longer. That idea, that's what I feel makes me inspired to work as a doctor, because I get to work with that energy. I mean, that to me is like, if only our human brains could be that smart and make those kind of decisions. So you start, go ahead.
Then what you're saying is that the body is always having an intelligent response, right?
Without a doubt, you can take it to the bank. Even we're talking the absolute worst disease process you can imagine, even stage 4 cancer. If the body wasn't making an intelligent response, they would be dead yesterday. But
Right.
The body is so efficient, and it doesn't play hard to get. It doesn't play passive aggressive. It doesn't get back at you for what you said 2 weeks ago and made it feel embarrassed. It doesn't have that kind of energy that we carry around inside our head. It just literally acts every second of every day in our best interest. And I just think that is so, well, it's humbling. It's just an amazing thing to recognize. We need to remind ourselves of that.
And genius, like your book says, genius. So let me ask you this then. Is it safe for me to say then, as in with that patient of yours, they were doing better, they took the patch off and they kind of backslid. So is it safe for me to say that in cumulatively over time, because we're talking about stem cells, you know, the benefit gets more and better and better and better cumulatively over time. Is it safe to say that?
I think that's a safe statement. So if he took a patch off, he wore it for 3 days, and then he took 3 steps forward, and as soon as he took it off, he took a step back. So let's say he wears it for 3 months, and then he runs out and doesn't reorder. It might take him 2 weeks before he notices a step back. And then let's say he wears it for 6 or 9 months. It might take him a month of not wearing the patch before he slips back, with the understanding that most people would not want to risk the slip back because life is too precious, it's too short.
Right.
But that would be the way I would understand how the body would respond, that you're building a foundation that you can't see with your eyeballs because it's happening inside.
Right.
But yes, it requires that consistency of habit to create the foundation. So, I mean, by the time you have a diagnosis of multiple systems atrophy and you've lost 70% or 80% of your energy and your cognitive function, well, Rome wasn't built in a day, right? So if you could find a drug that stopped the decline, that drug, someone would pay $3,000 a month for that drug.
Sure.
But you don't have to pay that much. You could, so that's where I see the value for patients. They understand that wow, not even just not getting worse is worth it.
Yeah.
If we get better, all the more bonus, right?
And for less than $5 a day. So can we get some applause for Dr. Wright? Let me just tell you, let me just say for everybody, we so love having your talent on our team. We have so much talent. It's incredible. I've never seen anything like it. So, hey, please keep making videos, because that thing was epic. Now, we're going to come back to you because we have a little Q&A thing. But I really wanted to ask Dr. Harmon, because we have so many questions, and some of them are treading a little bit left. We have to be careful what we say. So I had a lot of questions about other patches. So, you know, the X39 is amazing, but Dr. Harmon, would you mind touching on, please, some benefits of the other patches? Because some of the questions that came in were in relation actually to other patches too.
Yeah, I wanted to address those. But I also, prior to that, I'd like to just focus on the X39 for a few minutes.
Okay, okay.
Kind of like geek out on it a little bit, so to speak. I got to hand it back to Dr. Rostenberg. I did see him. He was in my clinic when he first started out. He was like my son, you know. I was like, gonna help him get going. And man, I watched him go from 0 to super busy. And you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong, Doc. You took the applied kinesiology course, was it 3 times or 5 times while you were in school? Was that right?
Three times while in school, and a total of like 7 times at this point. So
he came out of school ready to help people. Students don't do that unless they truly care about these people that they're going to help. So I just wanted to hand it back to, and we've become, in spite of working together, we still like each other. No, actually, he's my chiropractor, so that says a lot right there about. And I have lots of patients since I had to sell my practice because of my wrist thing that I had. That's who I send people to. People come in and say, "I need somebody really bad." I know where to send you. So thanks a lot, Doc.
thank you, sir. Thank you.
X39, let's geek out on that a little bit. What does the X39 stem cell activation patch do? Well, the first thing it does, when you say to your contacts, I want to know what you know, or what do you know about stem cells, you instantly transport them, or you're transported into their circle of curiosity. That's the term I've come up with. Circle of curiosity. You just jumped over the Grand Canyon and went into their little circle. Like, what are you talking about? When you say stem cell activation patches, you even get a little closer, and you don't have that obstacle of, let me tell you about a business or something like that, because that's not how we do it. So stem cell activation patches are known, and the company had to prove to the U.S. Patent Office that it raises a substance called the GHK copper peptide. That peptide, like Savvy said, is used by our body to upregulate or downregulate 4,200 of our genes. So if something needs to happen in the body, it will either turn it up or turn it back, or it'll start it to code so that it does something and makes something. So that's the substance that our body uses to do that. So it has the ability to reset genes. The other thing it does is, or the other things that it does are many. And that's why we see so many different advantages or instant shifts in people's health. Let's just go through a little bit of those. You heard Dr. Rostenberg say, I gotta see who's texting me. It might be Peter saying, nope. Let's see. Okay, we're good. I learned that during a Zoom, you should take a look at somebody texts you just in case they're saying, oh, they can't hear you or something. So let's talk about it. A couple of things. Dr. Rostenberg said his wife felt better sleep, better energy. So the things that are listed in the research about the GHK are increased energy, better sleep, dramatic pain relief, wrinkle reduction, sports performance and recovery benefits, hair growth, restoration, scar reduction, speedy wound healing, youth renewal, youth mimetics. What is that? A study was done on the stem cell activating patches, and they used a lot of different measurements on the cardiovascular system. And they found after 6 weeks of using the X39, the age of the cardiovascular system was turned back. In other words, they reversed the aging by 2 years just wearing that patch for 6 weeks. That was a study that was done. So the age of the cardiovascular system, reversing that drastically reduces someone's chances of having getting cardiovascular disease and problems. What does that affect? Everything. We're dependent upon the cardiovascular system to get oxygen, to get nutrients out into our body. The reason diabetics end up losing their feet is because their little capillaries and arteries get destroyed so much that they can't carry raw materials and oxygen out to the extremities. And then they get ulcers and infections and they can't fight stuff. So those are some of the benefits of the X39. And truly, we want to focus, we want to make that our main thrust, and that's the X39 stem cell activating patch. Make sure we don't say stem cell patches. I learned my lesson really quickly when somebody said, so you're getting somebody else's stem cells? Yeah. So we have to say stem cell activating patches when we're talking about those. There are sometimes a few, as Dr. Rostenberg said, some people don't respond as quickly as others. So sometimes we have to do a little troubleshooting because it can be either a placement problem, or it can be they haven't had it on long enough, or sometimes we have to do some troubleshooting. So I want to go over a few things to help you out when you have someone say to you, I felt worse, I didn't feel much. There are reasons why that is happening. So another thing that the patches can do, well, one of the things that you have to be aware of with the patches, those people, and I think everyone on the call should know this by now, but we need to drink a lot more water. Dehydration keeps meridians obstructed. It will destruct it. It will, the meridian channels will be more obstructed and you won't have good flow through those channels. As you know, X39 is put on acupuncture points. So they're on acupuncture meridians, and if you're dehydrated, you can't have good energy flow. The water also increases the electroconductivity of skin. So that's an important thing in energy medicine. If they have heavy toxicity, if somebody has heavy metals, the body will mobilize to flush out those like Dr. Rostenberg was saying, you know, it does things appropriately. It's not a side effect of the patches. Flushing out heavy metals might not feel good, but it's still appropriate because it says, hey, my organs have healed enough. I can take out the trash now. Let's get rid of this stuff. So you have to drink enough water so that your body, your kidneys and everything can flush them out. But depending on your toxicity level, it can take weeks or months to detoxify. It depends on the health of the organs and the tissues. Incorrect placement. You want to learn the recommended placement for the X39 and also some of the other patches I'm going to talk about in just a minute. Everyone may respond differently because of blockages they have in their energy. So don't get discouraged and tell people, we know the patches work. The company has a 90-day money-back guarantee. We're pretty dang confident. We know that the X39 raises that GHK copper peptide, which raises the number of stem cells we have. So we don't want to get discouraged by that. So if someone has blocked energy meridians, they might have some difficulty getting changes with the X39 as well. So drink more water. We take care of the things that we can have an effect on. Drink more water. Also, you want to get more sleep. But some of the other things that you want to do, keep in mind that magnesium calcium and zinc have an electrical charge on them. So that affects the electrical conductivity and performance, their performance. So you want to make sure that you're not mineral deficient, or those people aren't mineral deficient. Otherwise, the patches have less ability to work appropriately and efficiently. Magnesium is essential in energy production. It's a catalyst. So in order to make more energy, or ATP, in our body, we have to have enough magnesium. Most of us are deficient. We used to get over 500 milligrams of magnesium a day in our diet, but because of artificial fertilizer and other things and other binder, Roundup, the plants don't take magnesium out of the soil. And so the food doesn't have as much magnesium. So everybody needs to really supplement with magnesium. If you think about it, if you're using the energy enhancer patches I'm going to talk about, if you're using the X39 and your body wants to make more energy, but you don't have enough magnesium to push that pathway towards ATP production, it's not going to be able to do it as much. So make sure that people ask them this question: do you supplement with magnesium? You might consider doing that while you're doing this patch, because you want to get the best bang for your buck. We had a lot of questions about the different patches. Again, I want to emphasize, we focus on what? We focus on the X39. That is the driving force, and that is the uniqueness of what we do. What do you know about stem cells? It's very, very powerful. And I want to get some of these stem cell activating patches to you. What the heck is that? Okay, I'll try it. Virtually everybody I asked for months wanted to try them. No one had ever heard of them before I told them about them. But that was really encouraging, to say the least. That, hey, I can help a lot of people and nobody's heard of it. It's pretty new. So I want to talk about the Alavita patch. And, most of the reps probably know that it's good for skin, but I want to read some things and go over some things that David Schmidt has said about the Alavita patch. First of all, it decreases oxidative stress. Savvy told you I'm certified in oxidative medicine. That's the use of ozone and ultraviolet light, prolozone injections to help joints and things like that. Oxidative stress is when you have oxidation. In other words, they're antioxidants will counter the oxidative stress. Alavita actually counters oxidative stress. It helps preserve antioxidants in the body. But here's the thing, I hope a lot of you really, really grasp on this, the Alavita patch. It's designed to help regulate the pineal gland, the pituitary, the hypothalamus, and the frontal lobes of our brains. So what is that? It helps regulate and control nearly all of the neurohormones, and it helps regulate our hormones. That's from David Schmidt. That's not from me. So, it would be cool if I was the one who discovered it, but it was David, it wasn't me. Let's talk about the energy enhancer. What does that do? It enhances athletic performance and strength. The Stanford swim team used the energy enhancer and the carnosine patch, and they won a lot of Olympic medals. They won so many that other teams thought they were doping. So the energy enhancer was tested by the World Doping Association, the USA Doping Association, and NCAA and the Olympic committees, and they said, no doping here. It's not a transdermal patch. So that's a little bit of the history. So it increases mental focus, it converts fat to energy, it accelerates metabolism, and it enhances that athletic performance. Let's talk about silent nights for a minute. What does that do? Couple of bullet points so that you'll know if somebody asks you about them, what does it do? It is shown to increase the length of sleep by 66%. Signals the body to make more melatonin. It can reduce jet lag. Many use them to help sleep on long airplane flights This is a biggie. This next one reduces snoring. Everybody's applauding. So snoring, just a little history of me, I had sinus problems my entire life, probably caused by gut issues, but all the surgeons wanted to do surgery on them. Sometimes if I snored too much, I'll get really bad plugged sinuses. But here's the really bad thing about snoring. One of the predisposing factors to somebody getting Alzheimer's and dementia is that you're not getting 1.5 hours of sleep cycles in the night. Here's the thing about sleep. Your body shrinks your brain down to 60% of its size at night and flushes your brain with cerebrospinal fluid to wash away the proteins that build up. You can't do that. Those proteins build up, and it's one of the causes of dementia and Alzheimer's. Snoring is one of the things that helps people from getting restorative sleep and going through those cycles. So that in and of itself is just so huge with the silent night patch. Let's talk about IceWave. Everybody, for pain relief. Let's talk about some other things. Of course, designed to relieve pain and at the source of discomfort. Many people feel relief within 10 seconds. Here's another use. Toothache, swelling, muscle spasm, migraines, menstrual cramps. Dr. Pierre Volkmann conducted double-blind study placebo-controlled study in 5 hospitals in France. They had 100 patients that they did this study with. 94% of the 100 patients received relief within minutes, the ones who got the patches. Just a couple more. This will be something you can refer to when you have questions about each individual patch. Okay. Glutathione. Glutathione is the master antioxidant in our body. Experts say that our lifespan is directly related to the amount of glutathione in your body. The great detoxifier. It's a very large molecule, and it can wrap itself around things like mercury and pull them out of your body. It's the great immune booster. We must have glutathione in order for vitamin C and vitamin E to even work. It's in every one of our cells. The patches increase glutathione by 300% in 24 hours after putting them on. That's all we need to know about glutathione right now. But there's more. It can detox heavy metals, any toxins, mercury, helps protect from sunburn damage. Pills and creams and drinks that you take by mouth or put on your skin only increase glutathione by 10 to 20%. The patches increase at 300%. Carnosine. Carnosine helps protect the brain from forming plaque. Carnosine helps in the process of sick cells becoming healthy. Carnosine improves athletic performance by preventing the buildup of lactic acid. It helps improve strength, flexibility, endurance, and it helps build proper muscle tissue. SB6, appetite control. It stimulates certain acupoints used for appetite control for thousands of years. It reduces cravings. When worn daily, has been shown and produce highly significant improvement in function status of different organs. It helps in hormone balancing. And I think last but not least, the Aeon patch. This is what I tell people right off, especially if they don't have a very big of a background in science. There's a part of our nervous system that controls the things that go on automatically in your body. The Aeon, and that's the fight or flight, it's called sympathetic nervous system, or the rest, digest, heal mode, that's called the parasympathetic. One in general speeds things up and one slows things down. The fight or flight is the sympathetic nervous system. We operate so much in that during the day. We go. We don't even wait 15 minutes to digest our food. So that the Aeon patch balances that out between the fight or flight and the rest digest part. And truly, that's the only thing you really need to tell someone who is asking about the Aeon. But here's a couple more things for the people who really want to know. Decreases inflammation. It decreases C-reactive protein in the blood. And it increases collagen in joints and skin. Well, I hope that gives you a good foundation on each one of the patches, stressing the X39. I didn't even know about these for the first couple of months, and then we started using them. There's one more, and that's the Nirvana, and that's for mood, and that enhances mood without drugs or supplements. So I think we're going to open it up for a few questions. Is that correct right now, Savvy? Or you had some
Dr. Harmon, that we're basically on this particular call this time. We're going to close it now because we need to have we need to consult and literally figure out what we can actually say on some of these health questions, just to make sure we're in compliance, okay? So, but hey, everybody, do you understand how important these two guys are to this team? I mean, we just have to applaud. I mean, it is such a blessing to have these guys, and I loved hearing all those other things on the other patches because I'm into that, right? I love that. So I'm assuming that anybody that comes to a science call is into that too, right? So, because we can stack patches. The X39, of course, it does a little bit of everything. But sometimes if you have extra inflammation or you're really hurting, you can stack some of the other patches too. So like the Silent Night, no rest, no repair. So we just wanted to thank you, Dr. Rostenberg. Thank you for taking your time. Thank you, Dr. Harmon. And hey, thanks everybody for showing up. The Zoom calls are amazing, right? I wanted to share with everybody how important Zoom calls are. In the Healing with Light book, there's an interview with David Schmidt in the back of that. And early in that interview, somebody asked him what was his roughest year at LifeWave. And he mentioned 2007. So he had been hit with a bunch of credit card fraud and whatnot. And he got so low that he himself was living off credit cards himself. And the thing that brought him out of it were his own client customer testimonials. The testimonials lifted David Schmidt himself. That's how important our Zoom calls are. The Zoom calls are critical, especially when you have massive healers like that on a call, right? So thank you everybody for coming. Remember, next month, we're going to do it again. So by then we'll have it dialed in exactly on what we can say and not say on health challenges, okay? That's it. Thank you, everybody. Have a good rest of your day, and we'll see you next time.
Next Saturday,
Thank
September
you.
29th, we're going to unmute everyone. So give everyone a big round of applause, right? There you go.
Thank you for hosting. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Doctors, you are awesome.
Thank you so much.
Guys.
Stand down.
Okay.
Thank you.
Everybody.
Eat your treats. We're going to let it go.
Hasta la vista.
Peter.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
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 Thank you.
Look at all the love. Look at all the love.
Well done, Hannah.
Bye, everyone.